Hello, YouTube world. This is Professor BJ back for another amazing video. I wanted to talk about college enrollment. I know I talked about that in my last video, and I had quite a few views from that video, so I wanted to stay on that theme. Today, I wanted to talk about the decline in college enrollment. I know in the last video I talked about the fact that less men were going to college and or graduating than women, and I discussed why I thought that was, and I had an article that I referenced. So today, very much the same. This is actually an article from Forbes, which we know that's a very trusted source for anything business related, workplace related. They have some amazing content on their online platform. It's kind of a go-to in the business world, world of HR, in the world of academia. So, according to this article, and that was just June of this year, 2021, it stated the latest numbers show largest college enrollment decline in a decade. A decade, that's a long time. And according to this article, and this was updated figures from the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center, also known as the NSCRC, shows that overall college enrollment fell to 16.9 million students this spring, down more than 600,000 students from a year ago. That's a lot of students. That's a big number. That 1 year decline of 3.5% is the largest spring semester enrollment decrease since 2011. Wow, we know what tragedy occurred in 2011. It goes on to say the decrease was accounted for 4.9% drop in undergraduate students, amounting to 727,000 fewer students. In fact, enrollment of graduate students increased by a healthy 4.6%, the equivalent of 124,000 more students. So this is very interesting. So this article really went into the breakdown of the different sectors of higher education. So for community colleges, they were the ones that were hit the hardest. Community college continued to take the biggest hit, dropping 9.5% or 476,000 fewer students. And that is followed by public four-year universities were down 0.6%. Private nonprofit institutions saw a 0.8% drop, and private for-profit schools had a 1.5% enrollment decline. So I wanted to stop here and I wanted to talk about that a little bit, just explore that with you a little. The drop in, if you were drop in enrollment, as you recall, what I stated in my previous video about why not as many men are going to college and or graduating as women. Again, you remember I talked about the return on investment. That's very, very important. And I think I even mentioned that last video. Last year, a lot of schools were forced to move to remote online learning. A lot of students don't do well with online learning. A lot of, in some areas, if they lived in a remote area, they may not have even had Wi-Fi. It's hard to believe, but there's still a lot of cities and counties in remote areas and mountainous areas in very rural areas that don't have access to Wi-Fi, or it's spotty at best. So that's something that was an issue, and even at the the lower level education, K through 12, secondary education, it was an issue as well. In fact, a lot of cable companies in some major cities, part of their community giving back, they actually gave away free Wi-Fi to households under a certain income level. Even some organizations and foundations gave away free laptops because a lot of the school districts didn't have enough laptops because every student had to have a laptop to take home. And so there's still some issues with still gaining traction in some areas, and again, kind of tying in high school and college because that's a stepping stone. and some high school students are bypassing the whole college route, based on these numbers. Again, in a decade, we lost that many students in 1 year. That's a big number. And so there are some factors. We talked in the last video, or I talked in the last video, financial. A lot of people were laid off. They have not been able to return to work. We see the numbers every week, news reports. The eviction moratorium is ending, so a lot of families are scrambling for housing, food, clothing, and shelter. Those are the top three. Education is like number 4 or 5 on the list of priorities. So a lot of families are faced with, the possibility of being evicted from their homes. So naturally, education is not at the top of the list. They're trying to find secure housing and or uh, the back rent that they owe. That's still going to come due. So they're trying to scramble, trying to keep a roof over their heads. I think, also, I mean, the reality is, and I'm an educator, but the reality is nowadays some people don't feel the need to go to college. They don't think that it's the end all be all like it used to be. They don't feel that it will prevent them from getting a good paying job. And of course, with social media, we have a lot of YouTube stars. We have a lot of people that YouTube is their full-time job. They do a lot of, affiliate marketing. They do a lot of online shopping. They have a lot of platforms. Entrepreneurship has really gained a lot of traction. I know when I was growing up, I mean, there have always been small businesses, obviously, but in my family, that was not the push to be a business owner. It was to go to college or go to the military. I think I may have mentioned that perhaps in my first video, but it was kind of a given. You graduate from high school and you have 2 options, college or military. Those were your 2 options, so you pick. Nowadays there's so many more options, which is a great thing, and I love the fact that nowadays youngsters have more opportunities to do a combination. You can work, go to college part-time, you can maintain a full-time job, you can be a YouTube star, you can sell stuff, clothing and t-shirts, hats, whatever on the weekends at festivals in your local city. So I like that there are options. It's always good to have options. So that's a good thing. So, but I wanted to go on further. This article is really good. Again, it was by Forbes. And before I forget, please like and subscribe to this channel. I do plan to bring some exciting topics. At some point, I'd like to have some interviews with some heavy hitters in different industries. I'd like to bring them on my channel to do interviews. I want to call it critical conversations. So please, 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 if you've stopped by, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. It will help boost my confidence. And so going back to the article, it actually broke it down by state. So what it's showing is the largest enrollment decreases percentage-wise. The top state was New Mexico, 11.4%. That's a big number. And then followed by Delaware, 7.7%. Followed by Michigan, 6.4%. Kansas was at 6.3%. Wyoming at 6.2%. And then there were 7 states that actually had increased enrollments. So that's 7 out of 50. New Hampshire increased the most on percentage basis. It jumped to 10.8%, followed by Utah, 4.7, West Virginia, 2.8, Nebraska, 2.4, Virginia, 1.3, Ohio, 0.4, and Maryland, 0.7. So as you can see, there have been some major decreases in some states and some increases in others. So very interesting information here in this article. But I think what happens a lot of times in colleges and universities, I think we're at a pivotal point when it comes to education, I still believe that it's important, but I think at the same time you have to open up your options, explore your options. You know, it's great to have those options and not being pigeonholed into, as I said when I was growing up, you know, you only had two options. Those were non-negotiable: military or college, military, college. And if you were very, you know, smart, you would go into the ROTC while you're in college, and you know, you graduate and you're an officer in the military. You have the plum positions, you travel the world, you have great benefits. So that was kind of the best of both worlds. So very, very, very important. I'm not sure, you know, in terms of this decline in a year, you know, what are the implications of that? What does that mean going forward? What does it mean for the educational system? What does it mean for the institutions of higher learning? What does it mean for these sprawling campuses if the students are deciding to not return? You know, what about the endowments? What about the alumni? What about the grants, scholarships? Will those be available if universities, which is what I foresee, moving to a hybrid situation? What does that mean to extracurricular activities? Will they still have football teams, basketball teams, cheerleaders, you know, all the different clubs and organizations that are on the college campuses? I think there will be an impact because less students will opt to stay on campus. And I think that's particularly true for major universities where students are commuting. They're finding, you know, local colleges, community colleges, or local, you know, four-year university where they can help defray some of the costs by living at home. Of course, that's no fun. You know, if you're in college and still living at home, because of, you know, most parents like mine, you still had rules, and you know, you couldn't stay out too late, and like when I would go home for summer break or whatever. But you know, if you're a commuter student living in the same city, you know, and home with your parents, you know, that's a little different. So I don't want to make this video too long, but I did want to come back and share my thoughts and this other article, and I'll do another video because I don't want this one to be too long. With the continuation, I think, again, I will continue to talk about, you know, this decline in enrollment. What does it mean? You know, what is it going to mean to the profession of education? What is it going to mean? You know, we already are in the teacher shortage. There's some ripple effects that will occur. You know, there's a labor shortage in some industries. I just was listening to the news not a couple of days ago, and they were saying some cities, you know, they're paying these huge sign-on bonuses. They're recruiting from different, you know, cities and states because a lot of students have decided not to make teaching their, you know, their major in college. So, you know, what creative things will companies do, school boards, local counties, and you know, administrators? How will they resolve this issue? Again, this is Professor VJ. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I would love for you to partner with me. I want to bring some really great content and to support the channel. So I hope you have an amazing week, and thank you for watching the video. Again, like and subscribe. Bye bye.